And now we've reached the fourth and final part of our conversation on Malta. We'll discuss the remainder of the primary temples there, including their use as observatories, giving us clues through our modern skies to some of their practices at these apparent places of worship. In fact, quite stunning places of worship, absolutely worth the visit.
Now, this is the twin temple to the hypogeum, the above ground one, that's Tarjin, which we referred to before. And that's 3150 to 2500 BC. And here's some more of the spirals. I think it reminded me, once again, as you said, the fallopian tubes, the cochlea of the ear, the bull's horns. It seems to have this repeating spiral feeling. And as I referred to, the rose as well, those happen to be blooming at the entrance at Tarjin, and I just thought they were lovely. So I photographed that. And then this is a solar stone that was found at the hypogeum, and they have found similar ones in the southwest of the United States. This is obviously quite ancient. And to me, just looking at the count with the 8 sections, that there are different cultures consider a number of different phases of the moon. I guess the most popular now are 8 or 11. But I'll go back, that Babylonian zodiac used the path of the moon. So it stretched into other constellations other than the ones that we consider today, the 12 signs of the zodiac. There were actually 18 for them, which is interesting as well. And you can see even in these ancient times there was still the lion. I don't know if you can see him down at the bottom above a long sort of, that's the hydra, the long snake, water snake, and then the bull if you look further up, and the fishes, and then that's Aquarius up kind of almost upside down in the upper right, and then you can see the big scorpion. So you can see how ancient this was, thousands and thousands of years ago that they saw those same symbols in the sky. And here's more of the Minoans. Now this one's a little hard to see, but luckily they've done the little drawing. This is from the book on Tarjin. But the Neolithic bulls that were, these they think were carved later by the Minoans. But you can see the bull, and the bull is shaped just like the one remaining Maltese bull. I forget what his name is, but he's still around, so they're trying to retain the genes of this particular bull, but they're shaped exactly like this one. Very sturdy looking animals. And then this was beneath it, which is very, very difficult to see. I had to stare at it in person for a long time. The piglets, it's a sow with her piglets, and there are 13 piglets, the goddess symbol once again. And this is from a pottery shard, the bull's horns and the flying goddess. They're the birds. So we've got birds, bees, bulls, and sows, all the various goddess symbols. And this gold piece in the middle, it was just a little necklace I bought, which is a symbol of the, just a copy of the ones that they have in Knossos Museum of the 2 bees. You can see the little drips of honey coming down. You can see the tails of the bees coming together and their heads coming together and the wings, which I always thought was just a really beautiful piece. So this is all tied. This ties into the Minoans now. We've got a later Atlantis culture, basically. Once again, we've got the cycle, and that one, of course, was the eruption of Thera and the great floods and tidal waves that happened after that affected the Minoan. So we seem to get this repeat cycle again. Now, I just was going to stop now and see if anybody had any comments or questions as well.
Well, there were 2 things that occurred to me. The first one was about Vega. A friend of mine suggested that maybe Brian Wilson's vegetables was actually Vega tables, star tables. And the other thing was the sow with the piglets. That occurs in Welsh Celtic legends, Cerridwen and her piglets.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, and they are just a rich, beautiful image. And it's a Venus symbol. It's carried, I think, through the sign of Virgo. If the ancient goddess that feeds, and you think of how little care pigs take and how many people they can feed. It's a pretty remarkable thing. So of course, I think that would be logical. And this is the Pleiades. asterism, which I think is just such a beautiful sight in the night sky. It's my favorite, one of my favorite things to look at is the beautiful Pleiades. And the astronomical temple of Imnidra was aligned with the Pleiades. The seven sisters or doves are the gorgeous asterism in the shoulder of the sacred bull. The belt of Orion points to them in the heavens. The other end points to the goddess dog star Sirius, the great Egyptian goddess Isis. And Malta's temples not only have a solar orientation, but also align with the rise of these seven beautiful sister stars at the spring equinox, at the time that they would have been, that it was developed. So it's a pretty amazing thing. And here's more description of how it's seen through just cultures all over our world. The Pleiades are the seven little girls in Lakota. The seven weeping sisters and is another one with the Greeks. The seven Hathors of the celestial herd in Egypt. And in the Book of the Dead, there are references as the Lady of the Universe, the Sky Storm, the Hidden One, presiding over her place, you from Chemis. And that the Chemis, I think, was their version of the ancients, the Egyptian ancients before them. The red hair, the bright red, and your name prevails over the West. When it was, we know the West was a setting sun to them, obviously, and the passing on to the sky. And in one of the Maori traditions, Matariki, the Maori name for the cluster of stars, is a mother with her 6 daughters. The Sioux of North America had a legend linking the origins of Pleiades to the Devil's Tower. The stars were 7 women pursued by a bear. They prayed to the gods who raised the ground where they were located high into the air to save them from the bear. The maidens then turned into stars. So through all these cultures, the dominant theme is feminine, nourishing, and intuitive, almost magically intuitive. That seems to be a psychic point for that astrologers, when they would look at the Pleiades, if it was prominent in your astrology, then it showed an intense foresight and kind of a Cassandra feeling of being able to see the future. So once again, oracular. And I just had put in this statue from Egypt of Hathor, which I thought was beautiful with her cow ears, and it's just such a pretty face too. It's rather enjoyable, and it's sort of a feminine V shape, once again, the shape of the bull's head. Then I'll move on to the astronomical temple of Nidra.
The work I did on this page regarding the dimples in this stone at Imnidra were inspired by the Old Temple Studies Foundation's work. I then used the program of Dr. Bernadette Brady's called Starlight. Contact information, if you're interested in this program, is given here. I was actually lucky enough to study the stars and their ancient Egyptian meanings with Dr. Brady at Astrologos. Since the ancient Egyptians were contemporary with the later Maltese temples, I used Dr. Brady's Egyptian studies theories regarding the heliacal rise and set of stars, as well as the acronical rise and set, and applied it to 1500 BCE, when the Minoans and Egyptians likely interacted with the Maltese to determine these prominent stars. The heliacal rise of a star is a god to the Egyptians, was when it reappeared just before sunrise after being hidden by the sun. Thus, it was being reborn. It's a rebirth of a god in a time of great celebration, actually, to the Egyptians. The heliacal set of a star was when a star that had been visible all night finally touches the horizon before sunrise, bringing this god into contact with mortals. One might conjecture that the achronical set of a star, meaning setting with the sun, might be in contact or traveling with a priest or a leader of these great past civilizations. So going through the notches, I counted from the spring equinox, and the next set of notches brought us to the achronical set of Aldebaran. That's the red bull's eye. Then the next set of notches brought us to Betelgeuse, which is in the shoulder of the great Egyptian god Osiris. This would be the great king traveling with your priest or leader, from conjecture once again, but a thought. Next is the Aldebaran heliacal rise. So we're back to this star, and this would be the rebirth of this great god, the great bull god, after being hidden. So this would be a time of great celebration. Then we have the Bellatrix achronical set. Now this is the left shoulder of Osiris, and it's the more feminine side of Osiris, the nighttime god, as it were. Then we go on to Rigel, which is the foot of the great god, Osiris. Then we go to Sirius, which is the partner of Osiris. Sirius represented the great goddess Isis, the partner of Osiris. And this was a time of immense celebration to the Egyptians, and possibly or likely even the Maltese and the Minoans as well. So this would be the series of stars that we're looking at here, and what meaning they might possibly have had to the Maltese.
And then here's another view. This was a picture taken before they put the protective roof over Imnidra. And you can see the view down from the path that comes down from Hajarim, its twin temple, down towards the water where Hajarim is closer. And that's the sacred island off that you can see, and over to the right on the right-hand side. That's Filfla. And you start getting the feel for these twin sites and how sacred this land was to these people. This is another photograph from Heritage Malta of the spring equinox at Imnidra. I just thought that was a stunning photograph of it coming over the clouds. And then here's Jenny Caruana's painting of the Imnidra sun, which I thought was quite beautiful. And here's a drawing that I found of what the stones represent inside Imnidra with the solstices and the equinoxes. The equinox is actually, it's straight through the temple. You can view the fall and the spring equinox there, but it also hits these important stones in the temple during the summer solstice and winter solstice, which I found fascinating. They're that accurately aligned, and it still works. Even though we've had some adjustment, it's still powerful. So we're seeing this effect, and you can actually observe the solstices there, which I think is less obvious to people. So fascinating temples. Here's more with those notches that are everywhere on the temples, and they seem to be just incredible constellation counts or important energy counts. It's just one of those great mysteries. And you can see this particular photograph where they already have the tent over it, the covering. And then this little roped area you see in the picture at the bottom right is the exterior observatory that they had there that you could actually climb up on and get a sense of what they were observing from those stones. Fascinating stuff. This happens to be right by there, so we have another goddess feeling area here with that grotto, very much a feminine symbol, and that's very, very close to Hajarim. We visited it right before when Andrea took us to Hajarim and Imnidra. It's a glorious spot. Any comments on that, Andrea or anyone else?
Well, it's too bad that it was too windy, I believe, that day. We were supposed to take a little boat ride down and go through the arch to me into the womb. I was really looking forward to that,
Yeah.
but the weather did not cooperate.
Which it often doesn't, I'm afraid, but we, but quite, that would have been a tremendous experience. But you can see, once again, passing through the womb, it's that same feeling throughout these islands. And I thought this was incredible. This was a student. She got her master's degree constructing this. This is Hajarim Temple, the twin. And this, I think, is the one they've done the most work preserving. Yet Malta's done a fairly good job recently of preserving their temples, and more so than I think most places on the planet. And this shows this particular alignment. You can see how she did a full 360-degree computer model of it. She actually took the stones that were lying on the ground at the site and painstakingly put them together to form a dome-shaped roof. And that's what the stones would build, something like that once it was put together. So you can see why it took her 3 years to do as well, but pretty remarkable. And this was from the Times of Malta, their newspaper. They're good if you want to go online and find more information about Malta. They're really good about singing the praises of their beautiful island, so that's helpful. Here's someone had left an offering on one of the temple altars in Hajarim, and here's just another example of that. Here's one of the sites as well. I consider this like a triple goddess look. This is the Amnidra temple. This was inside one of the museums, but it was a mock-up they have of the temples. And this I thought was an amazing goddess. And this, once again, we're dealing with Lorca. We're getting near the end. I'm sure people are probably having to leave us, and I apologize for running long. But Lorca speaks of the three goddesses once again, the angel, the muse, and the duende. And the sublimation of the duende, the point at which we sigh and surrender to the Creator, Him herself, life, death, thus the creation of the sublime, the breakthrough. And here's his comment: the arrival of the duende presupposes a radical change to all the old kinds of forms, brings totally unknown and fresh sensations with the quality of a newly created rose, miraculous, generating an almost religious enthusiasm. Birth of the new requires the blood of life. So he seemed to grasp Malta in his writings, even though he was Argentinian. And then his neighbor is Pablo Neruda, and he was from Chile, my favorite poet. And I love this because he describes it as well. I'm coming, wait up stones. Sometimes, some tone or season, we are able to be together or to be one, to live, to die in this great hush of hardness, mother of all glow, sometimes flowing through volcanoes' fire or rivers' arbor, or fresh air's faithful circulars, or stuck trek through the snow or caked dust in the desert regions, metallic dust cloud, or even farther, the polar father of stone, ice sapphire, Antarctica. In this point, or port of, or birth, or death, we shall be stone, borderless night, unbending love, unending brilliance, eternal light, buried fire, pride condemned to its intensity, the only star that is ours. To me, that was the celebration of our Mother Earth as the Maltese would have wanted it, but that's me.
Now we've reached our credits page, and I'm delighted to give credit to the people who have produced such beautiful and interesting work, and to give you some idea of how to access their work and learn more from them. The beautiful artwork was by Maltese artist Jenny Caruana, who I've mentioned several times in this. It can be ordered at fineartamerica.com. Then you look up Jenny Caruana on that site. Her website is the Wise Stones of Malta I'll repeat that. It's the Wise Stones of Malta, single word, Weebly, WEEBLY.com. And then the musical excerpts were from Brian Wilson's Smile. They include Song for Children, Our Prayer, and they can be found pretty much everywhere. And you can reach Brian at brianwilson.com. The underwater photos of Malta and Gozo that I mentioned before from Graham Hancock's work, they were actually photographs of Mr. Hancock diving, is from his book Underworld, which you can purchase at your favorite bookstore, and you can also check his website. If you look up grahamhancock.com, then look under Archive and Underworld, you can find his latest information on this, which is really fascinating. Then as far as studying with Dr. Bernadette Brady, you can study with her at astrologos, astrologos.co.uk, and then look under visual astrology. And then her program is also available there. It's at zintara.com, ZYNTARA. The acoustical information that I highly recommend at the Old Temples Foundation, Old Temple Studies Foundation, is www.otsf.org. Francis Xavier Aloisio, the quotes were from his second book, The Age of Magic and Wisdom. It's part of his trilogy, and the first one was called Island of Dreams. Then I'm What I have below this are the links to my previous online videos on Malta. These were combined with my trip to the Ice Age art exhibit at the British Museum in London. Thanks to Sacred Sites Journeys, we now have a wonderful opportunity next March for a very special time of year. We'll be arriving in Malta at the time of the crescent moons, which are representative of new birth, and these will take place after a total solar eclipse, which will be partially visible in Malta, on the actual day of the spring equinox. So this is all about rebirth, and we have the opportunity to spend that at the Maltese temples, which is quite an opportunity. The best part of it, I think, is just how remarkable the journey will be, what's available there, and the very reasonable prices. So what I have listed here is the website where you can sign up, and that is www.sacredsitesjourneys.com/Malta, and then there's a hyphen, then March 2015 /Malta hyphen March 2015.htm. Perfect opportunity to register and join us, and I know you'll find it profound and beautiful, and will totally enjoy this remarkable place. Thanks.